All right, so we have William asking the question: hearing about all the challenges making a kilt, which is more satisfying, finishing a kilt to the stripe or set, or finishing a tartan kilt or a tweed kilt?
Finishing it as fast as possible and getting it out of my vision.
Oh, come on. Come on.
No.
Cast your mind back to before you were jaded.
Me? Angry and jaded and curmudgeonly? No, never.
Nah.
I could go both direction, and I'm assuming Mac wants to answer as well because he seems like he's on his haunches there.
Yeah.
I would say this: I have different reasons for each. One, not tweed. If it's a pattern tweed, maybe solid color or just herringbone tweed. No, I hate doing tweeds because you have to mark everything out. It's a pain in the butt. The difference between stripe and set. If it is for the stripe, I like it because there's the challenge of making sure the stripe is dead center on that pleat, and that as you're tapering out into kind of the flat section for the rise, and then angling out in slight A shape, and then coming straight down the bottom in the bottom 2 inches of the felt, or bottom inch of the felt, making sure that stripe stays exactly dead center on the pleat, and that each pleat is individually exactly the same size, because you can tell on a kilt that is pleated to the stripe much easier that the pleats are all the same size, or there's varying differences, or if a line is off a little bit and there's a stare effect. So you have to be better at your craft in some ways for that. On the set, it's more satisfying because you're creating the pattern. Or I'll go another direction, Mac, is if the set size is big and you have to kind of make up the pattern within it. Or on our 5-yard kilt, where you don't pleat it to the full set, you may have to pleat it to the reverse set. You're literally making up a pattern within the set to recreate. So that is satisfying insofar as you're hoping that your pattern that you're creating to make it work with the amount of fabric that you have looks as good as the original set, and you're kind of playing around with things. You have to have a little bit more creativity. So one, I would say, goes to the level of perfection. The other one goes to the level of creativity. Mac, top that answer.
For me, I mean, I do agree with you on the stripe, making sure that's. I don't know. I almost like doing the set a little bit more because I think in a way it's a little bit more challenge. You got to put a little bit more finesse into it. You got to come up with you figure out how to make it work. I differ with you on the tweeds. Like, I guess coming from a drafting background and like drawing it all out and laying it there, like that doesn't faze me as much. Now I have a whole bunch of solid semi-tracks. Ask me that next week, and we'll see what the answer is. But I don't know.
See, now that's where psychologically I differ from you, because when I was in elementary school, every report card, they would come back and say, Rocky's very smart, but he needs to follow directions. He needs to read the directions entirely before starting the work. Because I would just be like, okay, start going. And I would just want to jump right in and get through the thing as fast as possible. So for me, that's why I get a differing sense of it. And I don't like doing the salads. I don't want to sit there and mark out all the stuff. When I started making kilts, I used to pin every single thing, 10 or 15 times down each pleat, and, get everything exactly so, because I wanted the level of perfection to be as high as possible. And I drove myself nuts with it, and very quickly decided, forget this. I am not going to sit here and pin each pleat. It's driving me nuts. I'm going too slow. I hate doing it. I just need to learn how to do it without pinning and be just as precise. So that's kind of how I taught myself to do it after that point, and I've hated pinning ever since.
Yeah.
But you enjoy doing the tweeds.
Yeah, I think the tweeds are it's a different feel. Like texturally, it's a different feel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So each mill within itself has its own challenges. Like they all have different feels. This one is a little bit more spongier than this one, and so you have all these array of different things that you're going through,
especially in the tweeds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it really, like any given tartan or any given kilt I'm working on, I could go either way on. But just to go off his question, like doing something to me, for me, it's doing something to the set, and then a tweed kilt. I those are the two. That's the direction.
You're talking about the tactile experience, not just the OCD of lining it up and making it crisp.
Yeah,
So
but there's still that with the tweed though. Even though you're in the middle of a solid field, you got to make sure that your top can be all done straight, but your bottom can skew a little bit. You got to make sure that that's straight.
Yeah, because you don't have a grid on the fabric.
Yeah.
You're hoping that when you pinch it and flip it over and draw a line top and bottom, that line is exactly running down the same thread vertically versus going on an angle on the actual cloth. And it has its own challenges in tweed.
You realize you guys have just now gotten people thinking about tweeds, and they're going to start ordering tweed kilts. We're going to have an influx of tweed kilts for 20.
Not it.
Remember over there, I'm the one that signs who gets what. So
there you go. Yeah, Ian's over there like, oh no.
Damn it.